on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. If you guys aren't subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And in the last video, I left off getting the hatch started. I finished up on the head gasket job, wound up getting the car started, and the only thing left that I have to get is the driver's side axle. I already got the passenger side axle and a brand new battery for the hatch, so it's pretty much almost ready to run. Like I just said, only thing that's left is for me to get the driver's side axle, and yeah, it's pretty much it. And also, if you guys are wondering, is like, you know, if you guys are wondering like, oh, what about the radiator? You know, the car doesn't have a radiator. So you need a driver's side axle and a radiator. I actually have a radiator over here for those of you who are wondering. So I'll be throwing that into the hatch. So like I said, the only thing that's left for this is to get the driver's side axle, and yeah, she's pretty much ready to start and run on her own power. So yeah, I'm gonna most likely leave that for the next video. But in today's video, like I said, I'll be showing you how to disassemble your B-Series Honda transmission, manual transmission. I'll be going over how to disassemble your transmission, change out your Synchros, put it back together. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I'll be going over that, showing you guys how to disassemble your B-Series manual Honda transmission and change out your Synchros and just refreshen up your transmission. So that's pretty much what I'll be going over today. Let me set you guys up and show you the package that I got from SYNCHROTECH. So let me just set you guys up on a tripod, and you know, just give you guys a little unboxing on the new Synchros. All right, guys, so let's start off by unboxing this carbon synchro kit from SYNCHROTECH. So if you guys are having trouble with your with like grinding in your transmission, it's most likely going to be your Synchros. So what people tend to do is, instead of, you know, just swapping out a whole transmission out, most people, well, a lot of people, what they tend to do is just buy some carbon master Synchros and swap them out, and that should solve your issue. So over here we have the carbon Synchros. So these are some brass Synchros with a carbon lining on the inside of the Synchro. So that's that. And then over here, as you guys can see, we have some bearings, seals, some more bearings, and over here we have the snap rings. Bearings, more bearings, and over here we have the little C-clip that goes on the top of the transmission. So that's that. Now, I was under the impression that most of these were going to be Honda, OEM Honda parts, but seems like they're not. I could be mistaken. These could be some OEM parts, OEM standard parts. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That was the unboxing of the Carbon Master's Synchro kit. So yeah, so it's a $400 kit, and it comes with the bearings, Synchros, and some seals. Cool. All right, guys, so apart from your brand new Synchros, bearings, and seals, some tools you will be needing is pliers, magnet, a 10, 12, 14 sockets, a 3/8 ratchet, some screwdrivers, a flathead. You're gonna be using this one for leverage, and a 1/2 inch breaker bar. So if you guys have these tools right here, you're good to go. All right guys, so the first thing you would want to remove is this bracket over here, and it's going to be a 12 millimeter. Just get that loose. Just as so. And let me grab a box and start putting all these bolts and washers and stuff like this in a box. Make sure you put all of your hardware inside of a box so that you don't lose them. There it is. All right, so once you get that bracket loose, next thing you would want to start removing, just flip this over. So next thing to remove are these two bolts. Now these bolts are gonna have a spring and metal ball in the inside. So when you're removing this, you would wanna, just remove with caution and make sure you don't lose that spring and metal ball. There's also gonna be a washer, so watch out for those as well. Start removing these. So there's the bolt with spring inside. Now there's also a ball in the inside that you also would have to be removing. So make sure you get that out. And in order to do that, you got this magnet. And what you would want to do is start playing with the selector. So on this side, you're gonna grab this flathead, stick it through the selector, and hold the magnet up against this hole right here so it doesn't pop out. And there it is. Magnet is out. Well, metal ball is out. That's the first one. Now let's get the second one. There it is. Next step is to start removing the bolts to the transmission housing. Alright, so once you got all these 16 12 millimeter bolts loosened up from the transmission housing, next thing you want to do is grab a 1/2 inch ratchet or breaker bar and loosen up this top bolt. Looks like there was some type of Loctite on this, so that's why it was so hard. All right, so the last step to removing the housing, after you get this 1/2 inch little cap bolt off, there's going to be a little C-clip right there. So what you would want to do is grab a needle nose pliers and go in the C-clip. See what I done there? I basically squeezed the needle nose in between the C-clip, and what you would want to do is just spread it out just like so. So you guys could see me do there. So what you got to do is spread it out, and if you spread it out far enough, you're gonna hear like a little clunk noise, and that's going to be the actual gear set unmounting, well, basically settling down. And once you hear that, you will be able to get the housing off freely. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you guys heard that, that was the gear set settling down. Now we're free to get the housing off. All right, so now that the seat clip is spread out and the gear set has settled down, let's start removing the housing. All right, next step is to pry the top housing of the transmission off. So we already got the C-clip spread out. I don't know, I'm not sure if you guys heard it, but the gear set dropped down and it's settled. So that's an indication that the housing, transmission housing, is ready to come off. So that's one side. Now start getting the other side. And as you guys could see, the housing is ready to come off just by prying on some simple points. So there it is. So this is one of the bolts I forgot to remove, and it's going to be holding the reverse What I forgot to remove was the bolt on this side of the housing that was holding the reverse idler. So this goes like this. Just like that. Next step is to remove these two bolts that is holding the bracket for the selector for the reverse idler. So it's going to be two 10mm bolts. So we're going to remove these. Just going to leave those bolts there and remove it as so with the same bolts in place. So just gonna slide it out as so. Now the next step is to start removing the bolts to the forks. So there's going to be a brass bolt. You just want to remember that that brass bolt goes there and not any other location, any other hole. So I'm gonna grab my extension, break them loose with the ratchet, and also they're going to be 10mm bolts as well. So like I said, break them loose. All right, fellas, so once you got the bolts to your selector all loosened up, just want to grab this magnet, grab yourself a magnet, and just start removing all the bolts. Now the next step is to remove the selector itself. So just want to grab it, just pull it back. So pull it back and out. That's it. She's out. And what I'm gonna do is put the bolts back into their according places. So there it is. Got all the bolts back into their according holes. So I'm gonna put that to the side. And now the next step would to be just to remove the forks and gear set all at once, and you know, just settle it down somewhere. But I'm actually gonna cut this clip. I'm gonna end the day here and pick up tomorrow. So yeah, that's that. So far you should have the casing off, the housing, the bracket for the reverse idler, the selectors, and that's pretty much it. So once again, end it off over here for today and pick up tomorrow fresh. So see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. All right, so we're back and it's the next day. So where we last left off at yesterday was removing the gear set. And I went ahead and did some further inspection, and these shards of metal that you guys saw last night in the last clip, these are from the input shaft bearing. So it's gonna be this one right here. Just turn this around, and you know, just at a quick glance, you could tell that there are a few balls missing. So let me just see if I can show you guys real quick. Not sure if you could see in there, but there's like a few balls missing, and you could see those pieces of metal that were holding the balls in place. Those are all broken off. So, and from what I've been hearing, these bearings are common issues with Hondas. So thankfully this kit came with some bearings, so we're gonna go ahead and replace those. And yeah, that's that. And so let's go ahead and start removing the gear set. So like I said yesterday, once you get the bracket for the idler, which is right over here, once you get the bracket for the reverse idler off, and the actual idler, once you get those off, the next step is to remove the selector. And once you get that off, you could just go ahead and lift all 5 of these pieces out together. So it's gonna look something like this. There it is. Just gonna lay that down right over here. Boom. So once you get your gear set out, just wanna make sure that you have these washers right over here. Just gonna lay them down as so. Make sure you don't lose those. All right, now let's focus on the gear set itself. So, I'm gonna put these forks to the side. Now, over here, I'll just give you a quick explanation as to which gear is which. So, this goes as so. Just as so, right? So this right here, the furthest one down is going to be first gear. And let's say this is the selector. So if I were to bring this down, that would be first gear. If I bring it up, that would be second. Now if I bring this one down, that would be third. Bring it up, that would be fourth. Bring this down, that's fifth. So those are the gears, and the Synchros are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So we're gonna replace those right now. This is the input shaft, and this is the output shaft. Other terms that people use is main shaft and counter shaft. So this will be your main shaft, and this is your counter. How do you tell which is which? Well, the main shaft is the one that is being spun by the engine. So this is the one that's being spun by the engine. So this is the main shaft, and the counter shaft is the one that's spinning the differential. So coming in, turning this one, going out. So now the main shaft does not have any like nuts like the counter shaft does. So what I did in order to get the nut out was I grabbed a flathead, this one right here, and it was notched. It was previously notched, so the nut would stay in place. So what I did to get that notch out was I stuck a flathead screwdriver right in like that. Just gotta make sure that the head is flat enough, well, it's skinny enough. So I stuck that in there, grabbed a hammer, and slowly started getting the notch pushed back out. So once I got it out where I, could see that the nut is going to come out, I went ahead and grabbed a impact gun, impact driver, and Home Depot. Gonna be borrowing this as well, so I'm gonna bring this back. Gotta make sure I don't mess it up or anything like that. So grabbed one of these and basically loosened it. I just gave it a few uggas, about like 2 or 3 uggas, and it was loose. So yeah, that's how you would get, that's how you would change the Synchros on the counter shaft. So if you guys are wondering, like, once you get all the way up to this point, like, damn, fuck, how the fuck am I gonna get this nut off? It's easy. Just grab a flathead, make sure you get that notch out by banging it back out with a hammer and a flathead. Once you bang it out, grab an impact driver and just fucking loosen up this nut. And then once you do that, these guys should be ready to come out. You might have to, I might have to get some type of puller, but this might work. Just gotta see if it does. All right, so we're back, and once again, it's the next day. So yesterday, as you guys saw, I left off removing this nut. So the next step that we were on was to remove these bearings in order for me to get to the first and second Synchros. So yeah, like I said yesterday, I would have been needing a puller, which in fact I do. So I went to AutoZone, and unfortunately they're not gonna have the puller up until tomorrow. So I'm gonna show you as much as possible as far as what could we get done without the puller. So I'm not sure if you guys could tell, I already started removing this bearing. So the tools that were used for me to remove the bearing is this 3/8 extension and a hammer. So what I did was I took the extension and I laid the flat part up against the inner race of the bearing. So I went in through this side, which is the side of the where the clutch is, the clutch housing side. So I went in through that side. I laid the tip of this extension, 3/8 extension, onto the inner race of the bearing. So on the other side, came in and laid the tip of this right on there and knocked it out with a hammer. So let me just finish showing you guys how it's basically going to look. That's pretty much it. So that's how you would change the bearings on your Honda V-Series manual transmission. So that's that. And for the counter shaft, I'm also going to be needing a specialty tool, and it's going to be like another form of a bearing puller. So might be receiving that tomorrow. If not, I'll stop by tonight, see if I could have them try to obtain the specialty bearing puller tool. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And Look at this bearing right here. This bearing's pretty toast. It's missing a few balls, and it's actually missing that little inside, these little pieces. I'm not sure if I still have them. So yeah, it's like missing these little pieces that hold like the bearing balls together. So they go like something like that, and then yeah, they all came apart, and got chewed up with the transmission. All right, so since I'm unable to show you how to replace, because initially I was going to show you how to replace the Synchros starting with the first and second gear, but like I said, I don't have the bearing pulling tool, so I'm gonna toss that over to the side and start off with the third, fourth, and fifth gear Synchros. So for now, I'm going to show you how to replace these, and then as soon as I get the bearing pulley tool, I'll show you how to replace the first and second as well. So for third on, it's going to be on the input shaft. The Synchros are going to be on the input shaft. So in order to start getting these gears off, just easy, just gonna pull it off right here. Just gonna give it a quick drop, or you can just hold down the gears, turn it upside down, hold the gears, and just pull on it. So it looks something like that. Now we have the Synchros and gears exposed, so we can start removing this set of sleeves and Synchros. So it's pretty much going to be the same thing for the first gear. I'm just going to turn this over and give it a nice tap. It should come right off. So there it is. This is going to be your sleeve. And then you have your Synchros. Alright, so once you have your third gear Synchro removed, just want to grab yourself some Honda genuine manual transmission fluid. So you want to lubricate the inside and also the outer surfaces of this brand new Synchro. Another thing you want to check for is the surface on the gear itself. So you just want to make sure there isn't any scorching or like hot spots or anything like that. So, and if you do see any scorching or hot spots, just go over with it with like a fine grit sandpaper and just give it a nice clean. But yeah, first things first is you want to match up the Synchros to the new carbon Synchros, so which one matches or which one is the right fit. So this seems to be the right one. So once you figure out which is the right Synchro from your package, you want to grab yourself the snap rings, the brand new snap rings that came with the kit. So just gonna open this up. So like I just said, you can find the right snap ring, snap that into place, and there it is. All right, so it took a while, but I managed to get third and fourth hub installed. So in order to get this specific hub installed, well, the hub and sleeve, you're either one gonna need a press, but if you don't have a press, that's fine. You could use an extension and lightly, just lightly, just enough. Give it some good love. Give it some good love taps. I would say in a cross pattern. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you should safely get the hub installed and pressed. Get it fully seated up against the synchronizer. So once you have even before you get the hub installed, two things you want to make sure you're aware of is that this notch right here, you want to make sure it's at the top. So apart from making sure this is facing up, you also want to make sure that the synchronizer is falling into, first you want to make sure that you have the teeth lined up in here. Have them lined up, press the hub down, make sure this is facing up. Once you do those two, next thing you want to make sure is that you have your synchronizer tab lined up with the gap in the hub. Take 4th gear, put this to the side. You're going to take your 4th gear. There's a needle bearing right inside. So you can take this needle bearing, place it right over here. Grab your 4th gear and your 4th gear synchronizer. Slide it right over the gear, just like that. So once you have that like that, take your 4th gear, slide it over. Make sure the tab on the synchronizer is in the gap of the hub. So it should sit just like that. Once you have your 4th gear on the shaft, you're gonna want to take your spacer. This is like a little hub / spacer. Make sure you slide the part with make sure your needle bearings are on the hub itself. So make sure you have that installed. You can slide that down, grab your needle bearing. Well, actually just make sure that the needle bearing itself is on the hub, on the spacer, or in the gear. So just make sure you have that in there. We install 5th gear. And now it's time to put 5th gear synchro. Install the hub, 5th gear hub. Like I said, make sure that the synchro is lining up with the gap. So just slide that over. There it is. Once you have your, this hub actually does not have a notch like this one does. So you could just slide, you don't have to worry about the orientation of the hub. So you just slide it on. Same thing with the slider. Slide that just as so. Little spacer. And then you have your, make sure your needle bearing is inside of there. And then you have your reversed, this little piece right here. Not sure what that's called. Alright, so once you have your reverse synchro, just want to make sure you slide this top hat on. So it's going to be that little top hat, which is the last piece. And then this little keyway, make sure that your little tab is facing downward and slide your bearing over. And that's pretty much it for the main shaft. So yeah, just make sure that tab is down and slide your bearing over. Just give it a few love taps and it should be good. Slide down, just like so. Slide that in. So that's basically one half of the transmission freshened up. Got most of the Synchros bearings swapped out for the new ones. Now, the only thing that I'm waiting on is AutoZone. Tomorrow, hopefully, I should be getting the bearing puller from AutoZone. It's a loaner tool, so I'm gonna be renting that out. I guess it's a specialty tool. They actually have to pre-order it, and they said it was gonna be here in a few days, so I'm just waiting on that so I can get first and second Synchros swapped out. And another thing that I'm also waiting for is a special tool for this bearing right here. So this bearing, it's also going to be needing a specialty tool to pull this guy out. So tomorrow when I stop by AutoZone, hopefully they should have that tool. Fresh. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I basically showed you how to change your Synchros. So it's basically the same thing, and it applies to the V counter shaft. Same concept, just different shafts. So there it is. I'm gonna end this video over here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys found it informative. If you guys like what you saw, please give it a thumbs up. If you guys want to subscribe for more, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.